Imagine receiving a shocking message. The identity of the Antichrist has been revealed. He is here, using technology and new rules to gain control. Like a supervillain, he has emerged from the shadows, preparing a grand plan. The prophecies of the Bible are becoming reality. We are being watched like never before. Stay alert. This frightening story is happening now. Check if you are written on the channel, so you don't miss the next videos about the Holy Bible. Imagine a world very similar to ours, where people live their lives unaware that something big is happening behind the scenes. In secret, a shadowy figure known as the Antichrist is preparing to appear. Think of a huge house of cards being built slowly. Each card represents a piece of the infrastructure that the Antichrist will use to control the world. Large global organizations, such as the UN and NATO, are forming alliances and creating rules that seem good but could actually be used to control all of us. Advanced technologies, like security cameras on every corner and powerful computers that know everything about us, are ready and functioning. It's as if an invisible giant is setting the stage for something very scary. People continue with their lives, buying bread at the bakery and taking their children to school, unaware that the pieces for a grand plan are already in place. It's like a movie where the villain is hidden, but his traps are already set everywhere, just waiting for the right moment to be activated. The world seems normal, but behind this facade, everything is ready for the arrival of the Antichrist. And this preparation is already complete, waiting only for the right moment to spring into action. Have you ever heard stories about monsters or villains that seem centuries away? Many people think of the Antichrist this way. They believe he is just a legend, something that will only happen in a very distant future. But the reality is quite different. While everyone is busy with their lives, going to school, working, and having fun, the systems that the Antichrist would use are already operating around us. It's like a puzzle that is almost complete, only missing the final piece. For example, imagine a supercomputer that knows everything about you, what you like, where you go, who your friends are. This kind of technology already exists. Or think of powerful organizations that can make decisions affecting the entire world. They are also already here, acting silently. So, even though the Antichrist may seem like something from a distant future, the truth is that the tools he needs are already ready and active. People may not realize it, but they are living in a world where the plan is already in motion, like a train arriving at full speed that no one can stop. Imagine knowing someone who doesn't believe in God but knows a lot about biblical prophecies. This was the case with a man I met. He wasn't a Christian, but he began to change his mind because of something very interesting he noticed. He observed that power in the world is increasingly centralizing. Countries that were once independent are now part of large organizations, like the European Union or NATO. To him, this seemed very much like the prophecies about the Antichrist, which say he will control the whole world. Think of it as a superhero realizing that all the villains are coming together to form a great alliance. He sees this as a sign that something big and dangerous is about to happen. This skeptical man began to see global events, like the centralization of power, as a sign that the Bible's prophecies could be coming true. He began to wonder, if the Bible is right about this, what else might it be right about? This doubt planted a seed of faith in his heart. He started paying more attention to the Bible, wanting to know more about what it says. So, even without initially believing, he saw something in the world that made him change his mind. The centralization of global power seemed a clear sign that the Antichrist might be preparing to appear, and this made him look at the Bible with new eyes. Let's go back in time and remember the stories of heroes who fought for the freedom of their countries. Imagine the United States fighting to break free from British rule, or Greece battling to liberate itself from the Ottoman Empire. These were times of great sacrifices and courage, where many gave their lives so that their nations could be free. Now, think about how things have changed. Today, many countries that were once independent are joining large organizations, like the European Union or NATO. They are beginning to give up some of their freedom in exchange for benefits like security and cooperation. It's as if the heroes of the past saw their countries joining a giant club where everyone follows the same rules. This may seem good at first, but it also means that a central power is starting to control everything. And this is very similar to what the Bible says about the Antichrist, who will have control over all nations. So, While in the past nations fought to be free, today they are voluntarily joining together and following a common leader. This creates a scenario where it is much easier for someone, like the Antichrist, to take total control. It's like a chess game where all the pieces are moving into the right places, ready for the final checkmate. These changes make us think. If nations are coming together like this, are we preparing for something bigger? It's a sign that the world is becoming the perfect stage for the arrival of a leader with unprecedented powers, someone who could be the Antichrist. Imagine a world where everything you do is monitored by superintelligent machines. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, these machines know where you are, what you are doing, and even what you are thinking. Today, this is no longer the stuff of science fiction movies. With digital IDs, surveillance cameras everywhere, and artificial intelligence, AI, that analyzes your every move, this world is already here. It's as if each person has an invisible shadow that records every detail of their life. For example, think of a digital badge you use to enter school or work. Now imagine if this badge also recorded every place you go, every purchase you make, and even the conversations you have. Sounds scary, doesn't it? These technologies are becoming increasingly common and powerful. They are like pieces of a giant puzzle that the Antichrist could use to control everyone, exactly as the Bible predicts. It's as if the world is building an enormous surveillance system where no one can hide. So, while we continue to use these technologies to make our lives easier, we need to remember that they can also be used for total control. This makes us think, are we helping to build the very system that the Antichrist will use? It's a frightening reality, but one that is already happening around us. Imagine if all the money you used was inside a giant computer. You wouldn't have any bills or coins, just numbers on a screen. Sounds convenient, right? But what if someone could turn off your access to this money with a simple click? This is what centralized digital currencies could do. These types of money are controlled by governments or large organizations. They can decide how and when you can use your money. It's like they have a switch that can turn your finances on or off. Think of a video game where the main player can control everything. He can decide who can buy what, and if someone doesn't follow his rules, he can block that person from the game. With centralized digital currencies, this can happen in real life. If you do something they don't like, your access to money can be cut off. The Bible talks about the mark of the beast, a sign that people need to buy or sell. These digital currencies are very similar to this idea. If you don't follow the rules, you may not be able to buy food, clothes, or other important things. So, while digital currencies may seem like a modern and practical solution, they also have a dark side. They can be used for total financial control, where a central authority can decide what you can or cannot do with your own money. This makes us think, are we heading towards a future where every transaction is watched and controlled, exactly as the Bible warns us? Imagine a world where talking about your faith becomes dangerous. In many places, people can still go to church, read the Bible, and talk about Jesus freely. But in other places, this is already changing. Think of countries where preaching the gospel is becoming a crime. In some parts of the world, pastors are imprisoned just for speaking about Jesus. It's as if suddenly the heroes of the biblical stories were being persecuted again, like in ancient times. The Bible warns us that during the reign of the Antichrist, many will be persecuted and even killed for their faith. What we are seeing today are the early signs of this persecution. People are being silenced, churches are being closed, and the freedom to talk about God is being threatened. Imagine you are playing a board game, and suddenly the rules change to make the game harder for you. This is how Christians are feeling in some places today. The new rules are making it increasingly difficult to live their faith openly. So, when we see news of religious persecution, we should remember that this is just the beginning. The pressure to conform is increasing, and those who stand firm in their faith will face ever greater challenges. This makes us think, are we seeing the first steps of a grand plan that will lead to the Antichrist's dominion? Imagine you are a frog in a pot of water. At first, the water is warm and comfortable, but slowly, the temperature starts to rise, so gradually that you don't even realize it's getting hotter and hotter. This is what is happening with surveillance and control around us. New rules and technologies are being introduced so gradually that many people don't realize how much their freedom is diminishing. Think about how travel restrictions, digital health certificates, and social credit systems have become normal in recent years. These things are presented as safety or convenience measures, but in reality, they are getting us used to living under constant surveillance. It's as if we are being prepared to accept ever-increasing levels of control without realizing it. Each new rule or technology is a step towards a world where everything we do is monitored and controlled. The Bible in Revelation 13 talks about a time when no one will be able to buy or sell without the mark of the beast. The surveillance and control measures we are seeing today are like the first steps towards this scenario. They are preparing the way for a future where a leader, like the Antichrist, can have total control over our lives. So, as we go about our daily lives, we need to be vigilant. Every small change that seems insignificant can be part of a larger plan to increase control over all of us. It's a reminder that we need to stay watchful and prepared for what is to come.